What's up, guys? This is the workstation right here where I get to work, get to doing what I do. Got a little light set up. People sometimes wonder how this all works. I got a little setup here, and look at this. This is an old magazine here in Tulsa, Oklahoma. Transformation, personal transformation, trust in God, but tie your camel to the hitch. You know, this is so cool. This is something from a friend of mine named John Thomas. This is the station, and I just want to show you. Of course, I got some other lights and things behind here, but most likely there's a timer running here, and the reason why we do timers is because it gives times for people to come in and get ready on these live events, these live shows. And so what I want you to do right now, if you are tapped in, tuned in, go ahead and like this post. Begin to comment and talk to people. Say where you're from. Also say things, you know, maybe while you're there, anything. Just this is a community. This is not just about me. And it's not just about what I present or bring. I get the discussion started. I also will possibly just bring some really interesting things and the gifts that I have been given. So, like, share, comment. The show will begin. Whatever this time says, it should be right here. I'm going to put it right there. Yeah, I'm the editor, so I'll put it right there. Great. So this time, this clock, let's see. Yeah, this clock right here should be letting you know that we're about to get started. And you'll see my little intro. You'll see my little intro, and then I'll get started and try to stay on task. Let's go! Get excited, like and share. Hey, what's up? What's up? Hi, guys. Thank you so much for tapping in and tuning in. It is crazy over here. I was just at another person's house a client, helping him out so he could go live tonight. And so this was insane, but we pulled it off. I appreciate you so much for tapping in and tuning in. Miss Dolores, I can always depend on you. Make sure you guys, Miss Velma, make sure you guys like and share. We got it. Okay, cool. You guys that are over there on Instagram, Distinguished Ace, I know you, I can always depend on you. You guys are amazing. And if you're on Instagram and you want to have a different experience, it's kind of weird on Instagram, but if you want to have a different experience, you can still go to Facebook and YouTube right now. It's, of course, live on both of those. And we will have a wonderful and amazing, amazing evening. So, of course, I know sometimes it takes a minute for people to tap in and tune in, but I just want you to know that it's going to be a lovely evening, something unique, something different. And I know there are a lot of people will be able to watch this in the replay, right? Something that we may not have really experienced, especially whenever it comes to the expanded conscious community, right? Mrs. Marie, hey, how are you doing? I believe we're going to see each other. Oh, cool. You're in Tulsa. Yep, we'll see each other tomorrow. That'll be so amazing. Um, Henry, what's up, Henry? Henry, this is going to you. I know you interview the world. You're going to really enjoy this evening. Stick with me this evening because this is going to be a lot of fun. Mr. Pierre, I see you. Thank you so much for tapping in and tuning in from LA. That's so awesome. I appreciate you guys. Make sure we like and share and make sure that people know what's going on as my hair is looking crazy. But anyways, I want to 100% just get this started because I think we're going to have a lot of fun and it's going to be pretty cool. This guest that I have it's a really interesting story, and I'll probably get into it as we communicate and we talk. All right, everybody, good. Good evening. Good evening. We still have people coming in, and it's so amazing. I'm so thankful for you guys to be here. Anyways, without further ado, I would really like to, of course, before starting, I always like to set intention. Everyone just be able to kind of take that breath, deep breath in, and really connect because what we want to do in unlocking potential beyond belief is understand that there's things that are available. There's things that are out there beyond what we know that we believe that we know, right? The physical, the material, the spiritual side. We're entering into a space beyond belief. We're entering into a space that I believe we've tapped into, but I think the collective consciousness is what is actually going to begin to really vibrate, really connect. Because when you really look at the history, especially spirituality talk, right? The science now is beginning to line up with a lot of this. And that's what's going to really take this to a whole new level because I was thinking in the 60s and 70s, it was really a lot happening. I know a lot of people, Miss Dolores, I know you've been involved with Unity and you've been connected and with Marion Williamson and many others. And so the spiritual movement and different things has been out there, but I believe I know that we're on the cusp of something amazing. We're on the cusp of something that is going to allow us or allow us to connect and possibly have more tools, more things available. And tonight, guys, we have Miss Jen Weigel, Jenniffer, but Jen Weigel. And she is an individual that I met because of the fact that I was listening to books. I was listening to spiritual books, right? And I come across her book. And I think it was probably before even I'm spiritual, damn it. It was another book, but I literally was listening to her books, decided to email her. And I knew that she was in Chicago. I knew she worked for WGN. So one of my best friends lives in Chicago, and he's familiar. I mean, he's really connected in Chicago. Emailed her, come to find out she knew him, right? And tonight's show is titled Unlocking the Mysteries, Understanding Signs and Synchronicities. She didn't really ask me about this title, but I know this title aligns with who she is because of the fact that she's interviewed literally hundreds and hundreds of people, even in the spiritual space. And so, guys, this is going to be fun. So let's get ready. If you have any questions, like, share, let's go for it.
Hey,
How are you?
Harvey. I'm so glad to be here. I'm just grateful, grateful, grateful. So thank you. Thank you for asking. Truly. And you set the intention like I set the intention. See, I light my candle. There's a whole thing that goes on. I take this very seriously. So grateful.
Ooh, it's so beautiful. It's exciting. It's fun. And I just know that this journey, as we walk this as we call this spiritual journey, it's like there's synchronicities, there's people that we meet, and there's people that we can connect to. And with me, it's like I just want to build and create a collective consciousness that is really pulling all these things in, because there's so many different silos in so many different places. And so you're out there. You've been doing it for how long?
Well, I left my traditional job, I guess you'd say, in traditional everything's wrong, back to you news. Gosh, it was 20 years ago. But I also had a newspaper column and I was doing radio then. So I left TV news, but then I was always still a journalist. Like my training is journalism, and that's where I was for a long time. ABC, NBC, CBS, WGN, like you said. Then I went into newspaper columns and I had a Lessons for Life, it was called. It was a wellness column, Lessons for Life, with the Chicago Tribune. And then another wellness column with the Chicago Sun-Times. And then I went and did a radio show with WLS. I did a radio show with WGN. And during the pandemic, everything sort of flipped upside down. And I found myself doing my own radio show out of my living room. But I was always writing books, Malachi, along the way, always digging under the hood to try to find answers, because as a journalist, we need our sources, and we need our sources to be someone that we can call on, like a landline, reliable sources. That's how we get our stories. And so for me to then be venturing into healers and intuition and all of these things, I now know things that I didn't know before because I'm asking questions that I wasn't asking before. And the only way we can evolve is by asking questions. And that is our given right. I mean, otherwise we'd still be smoking in airplanes. So, if
Mm.
am I right?
Mm.
Mhm.
Wow. It's interesting when the way you say it, when you say it, it because that's something that before it hits you, because the science would be simple and it would be like, this doesn't make sense, right? But
Mhm.
someone had to have some kind of connection, um, some kind of in something to set that off that says this doesn't make sense, you
Right.
know. So what do we need to
Right.
do to fix this, right?
Mhm.
It's almost like things in the mystics, in the spiritual must happen. The meta, it has to happen, and then it has to come down, right? Or it has to come to us, because
Mhm.
we know some things are real stupid.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Clear cognizant is you just know. You just know you should take this way to work versus that way to work. You just know something's off with your kid. You just know something doesn't feel right about the mail carrier, or you just know that your neighbor is nefarious, or you just know, right? Or you just know that your mail carrier is an outstanding human, or you just know that your neighbor is amazing. You could just know good things, you could just know bad things, but when you just know, that's clear cognizant. And I didn't know what any of this was. I was an empath as a kid, and that didn't even have real estate in the world of, consciousness. Now, thanks to people like Dr. Judith Orloff, who is an MD, who's written so many books about the empath survival guide, positive energy. She's got a new book coming out called The Genius of the Empath. When you feel sick to your stomach and you don't know why, you can feel like something bad's going to happen. I liken it to a dog that knows a storm is coming and just starts circling, and you're like,
Mhm.
what's wrong, Luna? And then 2 hours later, the thunderstorm starts. That's how empaths are. They just feel stuff is off. And but we didn't have a toolbox for it. We didn't have a vocabulary for it. So now we do. And thankfully, a lot of medical doctors are talking about the clairs. With clairaudient, you hear; clairvoyant, you see; claircognizant, like I said, you just know; clairsentient, you feel stuff in your body. So, and that's the kind of world that I'm in right now, and that's what's been helpful to me.
Tell me.
Did I lose you?
No, I'd be bouncing because Instagram is different, so you have to go over there and work with
Oh,
it. Yeah. Um, Tell me, someone asked a question, and I thought it was really neat. And
mhm.
she says the only way we can evolve is asking questions.
Right.
Go a little
Mhm.
deeper into that. Just double click.
About asking questions
Yeah, how
and
we
getting
the only way we can evolve is by asking questions, right? And
right.
it's
Right.
the
Well, I
right
mean, think
questions.
about it. Everything that was pushed, every law that was changed. Somebody was like, "Well, why?" I remember as a kid, I would be in the movie like going, "Well, why? 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 Why did that happen? Why?" I remember being in Bambi, right? The mom dies in the first 30 seconds. And I looked at my mom and I said, "Why?" It's like, she's like, "I didn't write it. I don't know." You have to ask questions or you don't push the envelope. If we just all just kind of go, and that's what happened, I think, with way too long with smoking. So many people were like, gosh, I'm in the non-smoking section and all I'm inhaling is all the smoke from the smoking section, one row in front of me. We're in a flying petri dish, which is an airplane. How am I not inhaling you know, these secondhand smoke fumes? Somebody asked enough questions where they finally were like, oh, okay, but we're such herd mentality. Humans are herd mentality. But think about it. If we didn't ask questions, we would all just vote one way, right? We would still
Yes.
be, we would be accepting racism. We would be
Yeah.
accepting, women still aren't getting equal pay with men. Like, hello, the women weren't allowed to vote until the early. People don't even realize that for so long women couldn't vote. In the mid 1800s to like until like women got the right to vote. A lot of them couldn't even go out in public and speak without their husband next to them. Like, we really
Mm.
had to keep asking questions and pushing boundaries for us to evolve at all. Otherwise, everybody would still just be going along, following the fold, right? But no, some people get their clairs activated, like they're claircognizant that I know this is wrong, right? I know this is wrong. So they speak up, and then that's how they know. And then that's how things change. They change because enough people speak up. And that's why we vote, because enough people speak up. We have to exercise our right to ask questions and vote. Otherwise, we're just zombies or we're AI.
Mm. And AI is
Mhm.
usually controlled by us.
Mhm.
The
Right. You're right.
Speaking of voting, it's kind of like you go through these through the years, you go through these eras and you go through these things, and it's just sometimes it feels like you're not necessarily getting anywhere. But at the
Mhm.
same time, I believe it still comes back to asking the questions and then becoming more aware, expanding the awareness, expanding the consciousness, because of the fact that people, it's almost like we're drones. It's like people are not necessarily, they're not cognizant of
Mhm.
certain things, like when we talk about smoking and planes. And
Mhm.
so one of the questions that I like, because a lot of my audience, there's a chunk of them that
Mhm.
come from, I had a show that I worked with Carlton Pearson, Expanded Consciousness. And so that, of course, had a lot to do coming from a Christian based background, right?
Mhm.
And
Uh-huh.
so, or church based, Christian based background. And so, one of the things, whenever I think about it, the expansions of a consciousness and awareness, I think about voting. I think about all these various things that we face in the world,
Mhm.
in America. And so, What is your background in the sense of how you got to where you are, in the sense that you are a journalist and
Hmm.
you're being in a major market,
Hmm.
but you had this sense of asking questions about spirituality. So,
Right.
what is your background when it comes to, because
Mhm.
spirituality is usually connected or related to religion, and
Right.
it's like coming from that space, and then all of a sudden when you begin to not accept a lot of the religious ideas or
Mhm.
Christian based ideas, you know what I mean, when you look
Right.
at the
Right.
masses, tell me a little bit about
Mhm.
that journey into where you are today.
Well, I started on this because my dad died of a brain tumor and he was 56 years old. And so I was 30 at the time. And I started, I didn't believe in anything like intuition, mediums, psychics, but I knew that grief was very expensive and that people would pay to have these people. And so I thought I was going to go out, Malachi, and write an expose on how they were all full of it and that it was just silly and don't waste your money, that kind of thing. And so 4 books, 8 audiobooks, I'm writing my 5th book. I just tell people, I'm not telling anyone what to believe. I just keep asking questions. And a lot of the spiritual awakenings that I've interviewed people who have died and come back, many of them, doctors, near death experiences, I'm fascinated by because these are people who are science based. They have had an unbelievable experience. I know miracles happen. I've interviewed miracles, living miracles. I've experienced a miracle. So my faith is cracked wide open, but it's not in a box where somebody's trying to tell me that their way is the only way and they're going to chastise me or judge based on their way being the only way, because that goes as far away as the Jesus. I'm sorry, but Jesus was as loving, accepting, and inclusive as it could possibly get. And so many people are killing over Jesus. It is so
Yes.
completely bipolar. It makes no sense. And
Yeah.
so, for people who claim to be banging the drum of, in service and in community, and yet they're not in service and community because somebody else has a different belief, it really frustrates me. And so, again, asking questions. Well, why? I would say that as a kid. Why is it okay for that person to be mean Monday through Saturday, but then go to church
Mm.
on Sunday and say they're sorry, and then they're accepted by God? But this kid over here's never heard of a church and they're going to hell because they weren't baptized. I would say, why? They're good. That man's mean. He goes to heaven. That one goes to why? Like I just kept pushing the envelope.
Mm.
And so I think that we have to keep doing that because these boxes of why we judge, I now know this. And I say this, I've just been doing a one woman show with all my research talking about this, that when people die and they go into the other side and they see we are all a tapestry. There's light and there's dark, but it's a beautiful pattern and we need all of it. And we are all one. We are all one. That's it. You are one with the neighbor you hate and you are one with the neighbor you love. And we need all of it to create this pattern. And when you're up there in the light looking down and you see this pattern, it's like there is no bad and there is no good when you're in the light. It just is. It's just is. And we need all of it. We only grow with complete pain and change. Look at how everybody grew in the pandemic. And when you have suffering and loss, that is when you are pushed to grow. You never grow when things are easy. You sit on the couch with the remote control. There's no growth in that. So you have to be pushed to grow. That is human nature. And that's what happens. Now, we are needed, and there is a sole purpose for all of us. And all these
Mm.
interviews I've done, Malachi, we come here with a purpose, and the fabric of that tapestry needs all of us. We are all threads, and we are all needed. All of us equally needed, no matter what our resume says. Because guess what? When we get over there, they're not going to ask us where we worked. They're going to ask us how we worked with each other. That's
Mm.
what they're going to want to know. It doesn't matter where our resume, Jesus wasn't the CEO of Google or who Moses or Buddha or whatever. These people were preaching in stumps under trees for 2 people, 1 person to themselves. It wasn't about being on the red carpet. And we have completely flipped upside down what's important. And I've interviewed so many people who have died and come back that I feel very confident in that, knowing that you have to get to a level of trust. And the only way you can is by something really profound happening. And I now have interviewed so many people. Look, a miracle is when time and space is bent just for you. That's Carolyn Mace's quote, and I love her. She wrote the book Anatomy of the Spirit, Sacred Contract. She became a medical intuitive late in life out of nowhere. Again, nobody saw that one coming. A lot of people I interview, Malachi, have had awakenings later in life. Their wiring changed either through something tragic or just a belief system. And sometimes it starts just by being open to the possibility, like you said, setting the intention that you want to help, heal, connect, and be part of a community. So show me where to go for my highest good and the highest good of all involved. Whatever it looks like, help me trust it. That's my motto.
Okay, so a lot of us have expanded and are expanding, and we
Mhm.
come from Pentecostal backgrounds. And
Mhm.
so when you do stuff like you just did, that's
Mhm.
when you get people to like run around. You get people excited
Oh, good.
because
Okay, I was gonna say they're gonna be
yes,
mad. They're gonna
because
send me
what
mean
you're
emails.
because no, it's electrifying. It's beautiful.
Okay.
It's amazing.
Okay.
Like holy cow! In other words,
Right.
it's like that's when they say you're preaching. Like you
Right.
are
Right.
going for it. That's powerful. Of course, I want to talk later about Miss Carolyn Mason, your relationship. I want to like for a while. I want to get connected and into some of these. It's one thing to be and know who you are spiritually, right, and
Mhm.
what you offer, what you bring, or especially when it comes to understanding the oneness of us. But this, like,
Mhm.
as you enter into the spaces, when you're talking about people having whether later in life having awakenings, whether it be through tragedy or whether it be through intention. I
Mhm.
really, really enjoy and build upon Joe Dispenza's work where we are
Yes.
like pushing, we're pushing the
Mhm.
envelope and actually going, you know what? We know that and I listened to a book recently and it was like
Mhm.
based on an MD. We
Mhm.
understand that the Buddhist and various Eastern belief systems
Mhm.
have already understood in terms of why they would use things like meditations of various modalities. But now the
Right.
science is coming in and saying, wait, this does work. This is how it
Mhm.
works. And if you actually do it like this, you can
Mhm.
begin to have these breakthroughs, right? The brain
Right.
not understanding the difference between reality and what is not reality, but yet though the benefits, the body keeps the score.
Right.
If you're all constantly
Mhm.
worry, the body's going to worry, and so
Right.
therefore, if stress will do that to the body, what if you believe what you and feel what you want
Mhm.
in your life, and you begin to
Right.
practice that, and you begin to practice it daily? They're
Right.
talking about like I listened to a recent interview and he was kind of reluctant to say in that setting that
Mhm.
that the lady just didn't intend on it happen. She just had a breakthrough and her thyroid started to grow back.
Right. No, yeah,
Right.
it's the miracles of science, the miracles, like I said, all these people where there's 1,200 of them that are, I think it's Vatican has acknowledged 1,200 miracles since 1500. Imagine how many other ones there are that they aren't talking about, right? There's so many, and
Yeah.
I've talked to so many people where they've regenerated their thyroid. Yes, they've shrunk tumors. I was just right before we hopped on Malachi. I was on with a woman, Pat Longo, who is an internationally known healer. She wrote the best-selling book, The Gifts Beneath Your Anxiety. So she's helping people work with their anxiety to say it's not a curse. You can do this. It's energy. Again, everything is energy. Why is it okay that we can acknowledge that a dog can feel a storm coming, but like humans can't heal their own thyroid or whatever? So Pat Longo's mother was 69 years old and had stage 4 cancer that had gone from her breast into her bone, into her pelvis, and all these places. So she went to an energy healer, and Pat took her to a healer, and the healer worked on her mother while Pat sat down and watched Oprah in the lobby. And then they left, and and she looked at her daughter, and the mother looked at Pat and said, "Why not me?" And she was in remission for
Mm.
15 years. She lived to be 84 years old, and she did not die from that cancer that was in her bones. And anyone out there who knows, when you have cancer in the bones, like, that is a death sentence for many, right? For most, it's a year, maybe tops. She lived 15 years. So It's incredible what the body can do. The power of the mind is incredible. And Dispenza talks about that too, with the everything, even if it's just the placebo effect. If you think something is helping, it will help. But you can also understand that frequency is everything. So if a cell tower is pulsating out a signal and it's landing in your phone, in this computer right now, we can't see it, but we know it's true. So we know it's true. So how is that any different from somebody in Japan thinking a thought about somebody in Canada and them picking up on the thought? They catch the brainwave because there is, instant. And that's it. It's energy. Everything is energy. That's science. That's not woo-woo. That's the
Right.
reality. They have two petri dishes, and then they start pulsating in the same tempo because they're next to each other, because their frequencies are matching. And that's how humans are. We're next to somebody on the bus, they start getting upset, we start getting a stomach ache. You're like, "What's going on?" "Oh, I'm picking up on their energy." And that's what it's like. We're all empathic in a way, some more than others. Some are better at hiding it than others, but we need to start celebrating it instead of being scared of it.
That's so beautiful. So a lot of what we're saying is a lot of the issues, or a lot of the what we believe are issues in your life are not
Mhm.
necessarily just issues. These are
Right.
lessons, these are growth, these are opportunities,
They're
right?
unseen energy. Like we were just talking in the Zoom and one lady was like, "I'm just so stressed out. I can't stand it. I'm so," and Pat says to her, "Well, I think you're intuitive. I think you're picking up on everyone else's energy. So you have to stop yourself and picture yourself like a ball of light." Like she does this exercise called surround, ground, and shield. Every day, she said, like brushing your teeth. Because I always say this, I have a spiritual social club where we meet on Zoom and I interview people like Pat. We'll have to get you on the spiritual social club, Malachi, please. But everybody's swapping what works for them and how they're helping. And I call it my healing hygiene. It's just as important as your everything hygiene. You got to shower, you got to brush your teeth, or you're going to stink. Well, guess what? If you don't practice healing hygiene, you're going to be just this toxic sludge nobody's going to want to be around. So surround yourself with light. You picture yourself like a ball of light, like Glinda the Good Witch. I say, make your light tight and bright. That's it. Front, back, side to side, like you're a light bulb, like this light bulb behind me, just going, right? That's surround. Then you got to ground yourself. Picture a grounding cord going from the base of your spine, just like in your iPhone goes from here into the wall. You got to go from here down to the earth. Tether yourself. I tell people it's like drop anchor. Remember, you are a boat, otherwise floating in the ocean with nowhere to go. Drop anchor. So surround yourself with light, drop your anchor, and then shield. Empathic, especially kids, feel pain, sharp pain in this part. It's at the solar plexus, like right here. If you don't, imaginary shield, like literally picture a golden shield, or she used to do it with kids, the WWE belt, like a wrestling belt, or even just take a pillow and put it right there. That helps you not absorb everybody else's stuff. And you'll notice a difference. You'll feel empowered. You'll feel less stomach aches. You'll feel strong. You'll feel energized. These simple exercises she's seeing helping kids and adults all over the world, all over the world. And so why wouldn't you try that before you go and get a pill at the drive-through doctor? We all just want a quick fix. We want to just go, "Hey doctor, this hurts. Please give me a pill." Well, what if you could fix it yourself? And that's what I think people like Joe Dispenza and a lot of these medical doctors that I interview are trying to show us. We have more power than we would ever know. We just got to start activating it.
Activating it. And when you say
Mhm.
activating it, there's another double click. Give us
Mhm.
some activations.
So, when you turn on your car, you put your brake, you press on the brake and you press start, right? Most people have that kind of car. That's activating. You got to activate the God particle, the divine particle within you. We are all part of some big giant source. We all have that little flicker inside and we forget. So we have to activate it, just literally like the light bulb. Just when you turn on your car, that's what I tell people, just turn on your own car and literally picture it like the Tesla. You're just going to go and you're going to turn on your operating system right there. And just with that intent, say, "Okay, guide me." People who are really faith based will say, "God, show me the way." Well, people who can't wrap their head around that, maybe didn't get raised with that kind of umbrella of faith, you just say, "Okay, universe, I'm going to go with the frequency of love today," because frequency is a high. Love is love and above. I say to people, love and gratitude and, that abundance, that it's not selfish. It's not greed. It's not shame.
Yeah.
It can just be love and above, God and above. Some people say, universe and above. But for me, I say love and above. Let's go. Boom. And with that intention, you activate your operating system right away. Surround, ground, and shield. I do it when I'm brushing my teeth. I'm like, okay. And then here's another one, Malachi. I love this. The universe, God doesn't know a difference really between right and wrong. It just knows what your repeating thoughts are. It's matching your repeating thoughts, your repeating statements, what you say and what you think. They're going out and remember we talked about the cell tower. They're putting a message out to God. They're putting a message out to the divine all the time. I hate so-and-so. Remember this phrase, and so it is. And so it is. Whatever you say, I never get parking space. And so it is. I suck at math. And so it is. I need to go on a diet. And so it is. You're just saying it, and the universe is going to, do an exclamation point after it. If you just keep saying it over and over, all they can do is, so instead, you know what? I've got great friends. And so it is. My dog is so well behaved. And so it is. I can pay all my bills. And so it is. Start your sentences thinking that, and so it is going to end it. And you will change your inner dialogue and you'll change your outer dialogue.
And so it is.
And so it is.
And so it is. And so it is.
Mm-hmm.
I want to see some of that over there in this chat. And so it is.
And so it is.
And
Think
so
about
it is.
everything. It's like, oh gosh, this test is going to suck today, and so it is. And now I start talking about this and my dog has to get in the frequency because, dogs can feel frequency. And when I start talking about this stuff, this is always what happens. Birdie, you're going to have to get down.
That's beautiful.
Because she can feel frequency.
It's like, okay.
And so it is. Like, I love you. And so it is. Okay, come on over.
And what it is that intention is being able to catch. One of the things when you begin to start with basic setting the intention and making sure that it's almost like we get in behavior patterns, and we going to get up in the morning and we're going to, you brush your teeth, or everyone typically goes to the restroom, and all these things that you do, and you get into the pattern. And the thing is being able to recognize the patterns that you're in, because a lot of the patterns you might want to switch or change. And I think when we do levels of meditation, it allows us to, we do levels of meditation that allows us to be connected to the self, being able to hear, being able to, see or hear the thoughts, right? Oh, wait a minute, and catch things. And then that way, because what happens when you say it, so it is, to me, it's like, you know what? Self-sabotage is so real, and we do so many different things to ourselves, and we don't even know it.
Yeah. And that's the thing. It's programming. It's just like getting on an airplane with a bunch of smoke in it. You just do, you follow. We are followers. That's what we do as humans. And so we can start our own inner dialogue of incredible self-talk, if you will, but also by doing it on the outside too. We've done a lot in this Zoom community that I've cultivated over the last 4 years, where we hold each other accountable. We meet a couple times a week and we talk about what's working, and, going to bed, just thinking of 3 things you're grateful for, waking up thinking of 3 things you're grateful for. Just those alone switches your frequency, because we get so caught up in the to-dos and everything sucks back to you. I mean, that was my life as a journalist. In the it leads news, everything's broken back to you. They create a vibration and a frequency of fear so that you don't want to leave the house without turning on the news to make sure what's next. And so you have to really get some discernment. That is a word that I learned on the job and that I learned in life, to really know what's true, because I hate to break it to all of you, but there is no objective news anymore. There isn't. It's all subjective because they're editing it all down. The only thing that is truly objective is if you're watching a live stream of something happening right then and there, and then it's just happening. It is live, but it is not edited. Everything is edited, and everything is edited with a narrative in mind. I'm not saying that there aren't some wonderful stories, because storytelling is my life. That's one of the things that I really think is important and can never go away. That's why I love my podcast so much, because we can have these long form conversations and you don't have to worry about it being edited into sound bites in 2 minutes or less, so you really just want to keep the flow.
You speak of NDEs, and I'm not sure how many people really hear about NDEs.
Yeah.
So Can you kind of elaborate on if you take all of the NDEs that you have and you've
Mhm.
discovered, is there some like thing that always that you hear, because here's the thing is I love NDEs, but
Mhm.
it's like some of the things that I question too within so much of the time frame of the NDE, because it's like if
Mhm.
a person is like this hell believer, a lot of times it seems like this hell believer might experience that, because
Right.
I've noticed that I've really noticed the majority of NDEs I listen
Mhm.
to, it's typically
Right.
a person that, they see the light or the light comes to
Mhm.
them or they feel
Mhm.
love and they don't want to leave, you know,
Right.
it's
Yeah.
all about
Right.
love. And but then I know that a lot of the um church based um social media platforms, a lot of times you'll see it where they want to use those same things to get people to be
Mhm.
like, oh, you better follow me because he experienced this. So in your experience in interviewing people with those stories, what are some of the synchronicities, and so what are the things that you hear common about, or anything that is
Mhm.
like really unique that you've heard with those NDEs?
So there were 2 people that I interviewed with NDEs that totally changed my life, and there've been a lot of them. I have 2 audiobooks just called Doctors and Near Death Experiences, I think volume 1 and volume 2, which is all these compilations. But Dr. Mary Neal wrote the best-selling book To Heaven and Back, and, the 7 things I learned, or the 7 lessons I learned in heaven, I think. But an orthopedic surgeon, so a woman of science, very steeped in her science, and she was on vacation with her husband in Chile, and her husband also a physician, and her kayak flipped and her knee got trapped, and she was without oxygen for 30 minutes. So she's a living miracle because she should be a vegetable. I mean, she's like, "Look, maybe 3 or 4 minutes they could resuscitate me, but 30, it's impossible." And she's here today. She was in the light, she was with Jesus, she was told she had to go back. I always joke that, like, I've got abandonment issues. I don't think I could handle being kicked out of heaven. Like, there's just not enough therapists in the world to help me with that kind of abandonment. But she was told she had to go back and tell the story to anyone who would listen. So she mostly goes to hospitals to tell her story, but that she's the one that talked about the threads being there, that we're all part of this giant tapestry. And she was also given a bunch of downloads too about how, one of the things she was told she had to teach us is that all those times we're thinking, that's weird or that's a coincidence, like we talked about, it's not a coincidence. If you start keeping track, and she said, she gave me homework. She said, for 6 months, I want you to keep track of every that's weird kind of coincidence. And when you keep track of them, what you're doing is you're telling God, the universe, the divine, that your flare is turned on. It's like putting on your bat signal. And when you put on your bat signal, she said the laws of probabilities will not possibly explain how often it'll happen. It's like they know your flare is ready to receive, and they will inundate you with more and more and more signs. That's absolute proof in her mind that it is not a coincidence, but it is something bigger. It is God working in your life. And when you have the divine working in your life and proof of it, that is when you can transform your faith or hope into a trust and a knowing. But you can't get there unless you have that evidence. And we need evidence. I know journalists need evidence. So the day she told me that, I started keeping track of those coincidences. And for me, it started with heart shaped things in the clouds, in the dirt, in the dog poop. I'm not kidding you. Heart shapes everywhere. License plates. I'll be thinking about someone and I'll see a license plate with their name on it within seconds. I mean, the stuff where I go, that is so weird. I don't know how to explain that. That is so weird. So Mary Neal is one of them, and the second one was a woman named Anita Moorjani, who is from Hong Kong. She had 24 tumors, Malachi, cancer all over her body. Some of them the size of size of lemons, just everywhere. Slipped into a coma, and when she was in the light, she was in a coma for 30 hours, and she was told basically that all of her tumors were results of her fears and her sickness, and
Mm.
um, and her lack of joy, and that we need more joy in our life. We need all of this stuff in our life, and if we can get to more joy, she said, fear and joy cannot coexist. Think about it; they're different frequencies. They're not, and I always say this: they're not just in different floors of the building; they're in different buildings. fear and joy and love and hate, right? They're different buildings completely. And love is up here and hate is down here. And so she said, if you could just ask yourself, if you had nothing to be afraid of, what would you do? And that's what she heard when she was in the light, and that the world needs all of us. And the more we push things away, oh, I don't want to face that. I don't want to face that. She's like, just face it. It's like pushing it away. When you're in the water and you have a beach ball and you try to push it down and then it slips and goes and smacks you in the face. She said that's kind of what you compare it to. So when she came back from her near-death experience with her coma for 30 hours, Malachi, there was not one trace of cancer, completely gone. She is a medical miracle. They've got her in all the books, the miracle books. They still can't figure that one out. She is an absolute miracle. So those two, again, when you can get something that doesn't make sense to a scientific mind, a miracle basically, to say how your thoughts matter and can create illness in your entire body, illness enough to make you go into a coma, for at least Anita, that just blew my mind. So those two specifically, I would say definitely changed my wiring and opened me up in ways I never thought possible.
Did they ever say of anything that they do now that's different? Or
Mhm.
would like, okay, so I meditate more, or I do
Mhm.
this, or whatever it is that
Right. Absolute a trust. I mean, Mary Neal's like, I can tolerate now people I didn't used to like before because I know what the lights, I know she's got the playbook. Again, it
mm,
doesn't matter. There is no bad or good. It just is. It just is. Imagine that. It's like watching a sports game where you don't care who wins. That's what it's like when you're in the light looking at all of us going crazy in this third dimensional, everything's wrong and oh, the worries,
mm,
right? If you have breath in your lungs and a beat in your heart, you have enough. That's it.
mm,
That's it.
mm.
So, but
Breath
yet
in
we
your
think
lungs.
everything else is more important. Oh, what kind of house do you have? What kind of car do you have? How much money you got in the bank? At the end of the day, if an earthquake hit and you were running for the hills and somebody said, please help me get out of this, rock, I'm trapped, you would help them. And you wouldn't say, I'm sorry, I can't help you out. Who did you vote for? No, you would grab their
Ooh,
hand and help them to safety. That's what you would do.
wow. Wow.
Mm.
Who would you vote for? I think
I'm sorry.
that well, just
I've
because
never said that before. I don't even know where that
I
came
love
from.
it. I love it because the thing is we need that loud, because the polarization of ideas, the polarization of belief, right?
Mhm,
When it really comes down to it, we sell so hard our
mhm,
idea, and we don't really get that we forget about humanity. And even whenever
mhm,
you could be spiritual, or you can be spiritual and not religious, and then all of a
mhm,
sudden you're still can end up pulling some of the same energy against
mhm.
those people. And it's like, come be a part of me, come be a part of me.
Right.
And I think that is a lot this very Eastern. We
Mhm.
got teams that you could be on, and like you go for this
Yeah,
team, you go for that team, you go for,
yeah. Right, right.
very competitive.
Mhm,
We have a competitive nature, and I think a lot of things is being able to recognize and push this competitive nature down, right?
mhm, mhm,
Someone was talking about numbers, and I'm like, the least I can honestly say, I would much rather have 20, 50 people that are in tune with what I actually what do we bring to the table together, than to have
mhm.
hundreds or thousands of people that are just watching just because it's entertaining. It's like
Correct.
that's a that's kind of a problem, right? And so that
Mhm,
this, but it still comes from that competitive nature of life, that competitive
mhm.
nature of where we
Right.
are, seriously. And
Mhm,
so my thing is, for us, especially when I say us, for the community that is in this space when it comes to spirituality, what it is and
mhm,
what does it mean? Because I think everyone is, of course, have some level of spirit. Of course, they have some level of spirit and spirituality, and it
mhm,
is not owned by one entity or one deity, right? It
mhm.
just is. And so the closer or the more we get to, even if we feel a certain way about our religion and our belief system, the more that we
Mhm,
can still reference that person that's on the other side of this. as a human,
Mhm.
as a person that still,
Right.
but that is still connected to the same source, whether they are acting out in a way that doesn't show
Mhm.
it or not. They're still connected to the same source, and I think that
Mhm.
reflects back into us. The
Right.
You have numerous books, right?
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
Wonderful stories, wonderful storyteller. And so, did you say you have a new one coming? A new book?
Coming soon, yes. I've been writing the 5th book for a while, but it will be out by the end of summer, yeah.
What was your
Of
last book?
2020.
Your previous.
Um, so we had Stay Tuned was the first one, then I'm Spiritual Damn It was the second one, This Isn't the Life I Ordered was the third one, and Psychics, Healers, and Mediums was the fourth one.
Okay,
So
yeah, spirit. So yeah, because I've been through them all.
Mhm.
I read so much and listen to so many books that I have to go. I have to go back and re-listen to
Mhm.
certain ones.
Yeah.
Psychics, healers, and what was the last statement on that book?
And it was Psychics, Healers, and Mediums, but I have to say my most recent audiobook is called, Intuition is Your Superpower, and
Okay.
that one it's some of my favorite compilations of interviews, and it's on Audible, you can get it anywhere, that you get audiobooks, and I love that because it's talking about all of these things, regular people, some of them doctors, some of them authors, some of them just regular people that are cracking open. Like I said, this veil is thinning and people are just opening up in ways that they didn't think possible. And they're worried something's wrong with them. And oh no, what does this mean? And it just means we're evolving. That's what this means. It's good.
Mm,
Good. And you're not
absolutely.
alone. That's the beauty of it. You're not alone.
You said intuition is your superpower.
Mhm.
How is intuition our superpower?
Because it is our inner voice. It's that still small voice, like the bird that flies in front of your windshield. It is our superpower. It is what we can take to get to the next level. When you're thinking, you're not linking. So you've got to, and now thinking, of course, is important, like deep thinking, but when you're overthinking, let's just put it that way. When you're overthinking, you're not connecting to source. And so always, the divine is trying to talk to us. And that's the intuition. And we are all born with it, but we quiet it down with our doubts and our shame and our guilt and our white noise and all this other stuff that gets in the way and that gets more important. And that is what's, it's so unfortunate. When before we had all this chatter, we would walk for hours. We would be in the garden, tending to the garden. We would be in the soil. We would get downloads. We would get inspiration. We would get ideas. Intuition is really just inspiration, finding a home. And we don't allow for that anymore. We keep our heads so busy with every distraction that you can imagine. When's the last time you've taken a walk? I mean, I laughed so hard, Malachi, when I saw on the cover of Time magazine that they're talking about earthing. It's so good for you. Are you kidding me? It's walking out in nature, and now they've given it the name earthing, and now it's official that doctors are all for it. Go outside and play, kids. That's what we used to say. Go outside and play. But I live in a city, so that's a little hard. Now we can't really always do that. But it's just funny to me that earthing has now gotten a title and people are trying to tell other people to go out and be outside. So inspiration is also what intuition is, but it can be your superpower if you learn to trust it. You have to trust the signals that you're getting. And it's really hard when you get in your head and you overthink it. So that's something that I've been working on a lot.
Yeah, overthinking. There's
Mm.
a Andrew is his name. I can't think of his last. He was with the CIA, but he talks about one of the things, and I want to talk about it on one of my shows. And he says, "Don't trust your gut," and it's kind of a
Mhm.
parody
Yeah, I
where,
totally disagree. I've gotten in
yeah.
so many arguments with people about that, but yeah, I get
Well,
you.
the thing is I could use it in a way because the
Mhm,
way he explains it, right, is
mhm,
because of the
mhm.
fact that coming from the CIA, he can trust his gut.
Right.
Reason why he can trust his gut more is
Mhm.
because your intuition is all of you and
Right.
all of not of you. But the thing is
Mhm.
like a lot of times people, I believe 100% that you can trust in spirit, But
Mhm.
depending, coming from a space that um, it was very dogmatic,
Mhm. Mhm.
and everything becomes the Holy Spirit, right?
Right.
Everything.
Mhm.
And I would begin to notice even when I was very young, Jennifer, Miss Jen, I would be
Mhm.
in church, and
Mhm.
this is, let's say the early 80s, and this Pentecostal movement, and a lot of that happened, in the, let's say, early 1900s, right?
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
by the time the 50s hit, right, it's rolling. Like
Mhm.
it's rolling. And then, going through the 60s, by that time you have like television and marketing of it,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
And so it's booming. And the thing is now there's a whole culture around it. And so a
Mhm.
lot of people will be so deeply, like, from this time that the music starts, like,
Mhm.
literally, I'm telling you, from the time the music starts, as a musician, we're programming.
Mhm. Yeah.
You hit certain keys, right?
Mhm.
You know, and that's what really people like about gospel, is the fact that you
Mhm.
hit a lot of diminished chords, and it wraps
Mhm.
around, and it's going to vibrate a frequency that literally it
Mhm.
could. I mean, heck, my music I'm using that's right here. I understand
Mhm.
the frequency, and so
Yes.
by the time they get into that, I'm telling you, now we come in and we play and we do all this, and then this guy comes on stage, and then all of a sudden he starts, and I'm telling you, minds are like ready to be programmed, like so ready to
Mhm.
be programmed.
Mhm.
And not saying that people don't have intuition, which they can use the word Holy Spirit if they want.
Mhm.
But a lot of times, what I've noticed is the fact, and
Mhm.
where the CIA guy is talking about, is people are running off of emotion, right? And
Correct. Yeah.
their
Mhm.
intuition is completely off. Like, it's totally
Right.
off because they're running off
Mhm.
emotion, and they've been
Right.
primed and they've been programmed. And I mean, if you take
Mhm.
right now, and I'll call it like I see it, but if you take right now, um, the way, especially the way the ultra MAGA conservative market works, like doing a
Mhm.
documentary with Brian on it, and you see how
Mhm.
it works. Like, we had to film a lot, and then there was a
Mhm.
lot of places that I couldn't go when they filmed,
Mhm.
and it was so deeply emotion. I mean, like, it's
Mm.
crazy how they're programming, and so these people are thinking that they're operating off of their intuition. A lot of it is
Mhm.
operating off emotion. Going back to my church story,
Mhm.
we would be in there, and these people would really feel like they have this. A person might say they have demons, or they may have a devil or something, and you sit
Mhm.
there and they play this out, and they play this out, and then this person comes in and they're acting like this person starts spitting, and then they move the kids out. And now that I'm this age and what I've experienced, I can literally sense and see that it's like you're running off of so much emotion, right? And the
Mhm.
way the CIA agent is basically, they use a lot of psychology. He was like, you got people that that can go out and know how to execute someone without a cop understanding or without them tracing. But he said the
Right.
majority of the CIA is individuals that are able to the
Mhm.
psychology and math, and they're everyday
Yeah.
people, and
Right.
basically they use a lot of intuition. And he says basically,
Mhm.
as you do the work, here's the catch: as you do the
Mhm.
work, as you connect to podcasts, and as you listen, all of a
Mhm.
sudden it's not really what you're, and this is me, it's not really what you're doing to learn, it's really what you are letting go of, right? Because the
Mhm.
more you let go, now you're able to receive. And a lot of the stuff that I talk about, I believe you talk about, we already know. It's something within us that is there, it's inside of us. Now all of
Right.
a sudden
Remember,
our intuition
it's
is
a
starting.
text. Remember that you're putting on the ignition. You're pressing on the brake and you're pressing
Yes.
start. It is inside of us. But you're right. The emotions can get out of if you're surround, grounding, and shield and silent and surrendering and listening. That's the biggest thing. Then your gut check would never be wrong because you're centered. You're coming from a centered, grounded place. And that is what the CIA guy has. But if you're running high on emotion and you're feeling stuff in your stomach and the butterflies are going and woo, that's adrenaline. That's a very different signal to the body. The fight or flight adrenaline is what we've got wired in us. So we run away from dinosaurs. It's proven that when we are in panic, we need to move our arms and legs to get out of the panic, because that's what our wiring did to get away from the dinosaurs. So like you see these kids, sometimes they're in panic and they're worried, and so they're fidgeting and all this stuff. It's the wiring that they have. So if you get grounded, you get quiet, you surrender, you quiet the mind, which is really hard to do. And the CIA guy can do it, but you breathe. There's this thing called heart math. Picture breathing into your heart, quite literally. The heart is 5 times stronger than any organ in the body. You picture that air going right there, and that will calm your butt down. That literally just takes you to Control Alt Delete. And it's like all systems are like, whoa, wait a second. Hold on. Breathe in. Okay, I got this. Now let's ask that question again. Is this a good idea? Do I turn left or do I turn right? Let's breathe. Let's think about this. Let's not react. Let's think, surrender, center, and get the information. Then you act from that cool, calm, surrendered place. Your gut could never go wrong. You react from a panicked emotion place, you're all over the place. And I have, by the way, seen people possessed. I have no doubt that it is real. I have seen it happen. It is the scariest thing. I mean, the woman didn't have any whites in her eyes. It was just pure dark. I was like, get me out of here. I think there are, and the lower frequency you get, the more you can be rented. The lower frequency through your actions that are, and all know what low frequency actions are. You keep doing them over and over and over again. They can just be with your thoughts, with lies, with all of it. If you're out of integrity, you are rentable. And, I don't even want to think about who's in there using you as a puppet. So, it's terrible.
What gets me with it what gets me is because when I see it, and these people are doing these works, right? And there's actually wanting to pull, get this out, or they praying it out. But it's like when we have as many mass shootings as we have by individual people, because you can foam at the mouth, eyes roll over, and do all that all you want to. Like, you could do all. I worked with MRDT and mental retardation.
Yeah.
I worked at different brains, right? You could be possessed all you want to. I don't. I mean, I don't give a shit. Like, do that. Take your energy of all your healing. Take your energy of evil that you have. Those people that are healers in terms of whenever it comes to, like, say, exorcists. And how about you work on these people that's committing these atrocities, right? This, sex trafficking and all, you know what I mean? Like, there's some to me, like, true evil that's causing harm, like causing harm to people. When that's the thing that I'm like, we need to, if we're thinking that we are in oneness and we're gathering and connecting to the source, right? We need to be putting that energy towards individuals that are getting to the point where they're causing harm to individuals versus this religious wars and whoever else. I'm like, these individuals that are causing harm to individuals, and I believe that it comes to the heart, it comes down to the heart, and us being able to open up and accept and understand that there's a lot of things that I think can block us. There's a lot of all the noise. And that's the reason why you were talking about your heart, right? A lot of people and through my coaching, it's just amazing that the basic of the basic of the basic stuff that you would do to connect to intuition, we have shunned it, and we have actually called it so much woo-woo that people don't even want to do a simple heart
breathing exercise. Yeah, just
they don't want to do a breathing
10
exercise.
seconds. Just 10 seconds. Breathe into your heart. Boom. Like, if you do it for 30 seconds, if you go in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, pause for 4, and you do that 3 times, that scientifically shows that it can calm your heart rate. So before you make any decision when you're about to send that text, in for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, pause for 4. and do that 3 times before you do any impulsive action. It will literally get you back to Control Alt Delete, and you can be like, okay, now let's look at this with a clear head, because you are not clear-headed when you're being impulsive. And there's so much impulsivity because the frequency is nurturing impulsivity. That's all our phones are. That's all video games are. That's all the movie trailers. Like, I watched a movie trailer. It cracked me up. And I'm showing my age here, but of like a movie, a John Hughes movie from the 80s. And it was slow, and there were scenes, there was talking, and it was just this completely different experience. Now, every trailer, even if it's a talking movie, has 55 cuts in a minute and a half. It just kind of like, it is an
Wow.
assault to the senses. And that's what we are breeding, that kind of rapid fire. I mean, I hate to use that term because what you're talking about with these tragedies, but it really truly is.
Yes,
Like attracts
absolutely.
like.
Oh, it is
Mhm,
rapid fire. It is
mhm,
actually the weapon, the weapon of information and content. That's the reason
mhm,
why I have this and I do this,
mhm,
is because I
mhm,
understand is if you go and research one little, you were researching something online, and
mhm,
if people will then begin to find information like this, and this is what where people can learn different things, learn to trust themselves. But it is information and content is one of the, I would say, is one of the greatest, not necessarily enemies, but it's
mhm.
something that can block us, right, from
Yes, yes.
connecting to what we should connect to, that can actually help elevate us, because it's part of that
Mhm.
programming, right? And you don't even know
Right.
that you're receiving it, or know you. I tell people all the time, like, look at your social media feed and
Mhm,
actually see if you're following a gen, right? Because
mhm,
once you
mhm.
follow a gen, all of a sudden you'll start seeing other people that are similar to Jen, right?
Mhm.
And then you actually interview and connect to some of the greatest people in terms of doing this work.
Mhm.
And that was related to your intuition. I do a lot of work with intuition, a whole lot,
Mhm.
in the authentic self, because I believe there's a
Yeah.
lot of within building the intuition. Because the thing is that I do understand is, like, you can,
Mhm.
everyone has an intuition, but how do
Right.
you actually take what you do have with an intuition, and it's going to combine with knowledge, it's going to combine with heart, right? And so that's the gut, the heart, and the
Mhm.
brain.
Right.
And as those
Right.
things run in synchronicities, as those things running to what I would say running in alignment, what happens
Mhm.
is, I believe that's where you begin to get the phone calls where someone was like, "Hey, do you need?" Hey, now we're getting
Right.
into levels of
Mhm.
manifestation, right?
Correct.
Bec-
The way to manifest, according to Nina Murjani, the one with the 24 tumors, she goes, there's no vision board. You don't need any of that. All she saw when she was in this 30-hour coma, the way to manifest is self-love, self-care, because you cannot give what you don't have. So it's not selfish. It's not like, ooh, I'm going to go take a vacation to Tahiti. No, it's literally caring for yourself so much that you become a better mother, a better parent, a better coworker. Your container is filled with self-care so that you are then able to share. Because think about it, if you've got an empty can and you can't pour anything into a cup to share to your neighbor because it's an empty can. So don't be the empty vessel. So that's what she learned about manifesting. And then when you're filled up in the sense that you're healthy, happy, and whole with that frequency of joy, then all the stuff lands because it's matching your frequency. If you're filled with shame and doubt and anxiety, your world is filled with shame and doubt and anxiety and judgment because that's what's resonating inside of you. So you're pulsating that frequency out, it's matching you, it's coming back in. So you have a responsibility. If you're looking around and going, why is everything awful in my life? Well, what are you broadcasting? You are a cell tower. Every one of you watching this. What's your broadcast? What's on your program? You know, but so does the divine, so does God, so does source. Everybody knows.
that's so beautiful, so amazing. When you speak, hopefully you keep speaking, and you keep, even though you're interviewing people, right?
Mhm.
And you've interviewed a lot of people, there's still something within you, and you still have who you are, if you
Mhm.
understand what I mean. Like there's one thing where people like your dear friend Carolyn, right?
Mhm.
She has her audience and has her people, and you
Yeah.
interview and talk to her. But I'm here to tell you, you've done a lot of work, and there's a lot of people still that need your voice, right? They may not get what other individuals get from Miss Carolyn.
Mhm. Right.
There's a
Well, that's why it's so good to have options, right? I always say
so many different.
there shouldn't be a one size fit all for anything, for your pastor, for your teachers, for all of it. You have to constantly take a little from column A and a little from column Z. And that's why your friends should be you don't want the same kind of person always telling you, "Oh, you're so great, you're so great." Your real friends should challenge you and tell
Yeah.
you when things aren't going well. That's what real friends are for. So, things will get better when you're challenged. And so don't take every challenge as something happening to you. Try to remember it's happening for you.
Wow. I love that. That was
Mhm.
a wonderful statement. Your and so your next book won't be out until
Till
after
the end
the
of summer.
summer.
But yeah, but
Okay.
I'm going all over the country with this one woman show now. And I'm
Tell us
still
more
doing,
about that real quick. The
it's
one
called I'm
woman show.
Spiritual Damn It. Yeah. Yeah. I just go around talking about intuition as your superpower and all these examples of the people and the the miracles, I should say, that I've met along the way. I'm just telling stories about miracles. So it's inspiring, but it's also a lot of information because at the heart of all of this, I might be um, a storyteller, but I'm still a journalist. So it still matters to
Mm,
me. Facts matter. Facts always matter. And for people who just blurt out stuff without the facts, I really, really, it's important to me. So,
but you're
but
talking about you're not talking about one of these modern journalists then. You're talking about
some of them are still very smart and very fact
very
driven, but
smart.
it's gotten to
It's
be infotainment. Infotainment. It's more
it's really has more to do with the bought and sold. So therefore you
Mhm.
really, you want to do it, and there's still
Right.
people that do a wonderful job, but at the same time, you know, that what does
Hmm.
the what does the system allow when
Right.
it really comes to, because this a lot of this talk that we're talking here is not necessarily um
Mhm.
breaking news, although it's
Mhm.
breaking news.
Right. It shouldn't be, right? It should be automatic, but it's totally not. But let's make it automatic, shall we?
Well, this was a wonderful experience, and to connect to you,
Mm.
um
Thank you. Thank you so much for
and
having me, Malachi.
you know,
I feel so blessed.
yeah, to connect to you, and well, and just for you, because I know a lot of people won't know um who you necessarily are in my uh following, but you have some wonderful stuff. She has some wonderful books. Your books are one of the things that I enjoy about reading your work is that it's not so just one-sided. It's a story. You
Right.
could read it.
Right.
You write in story form, so it's something that's
Right.
easy to read, easy to follow. And then it's really wonderful to listen to. I listen to you read those some of
Right.
those, and
It's my voice. I write like I talk and then I
yeah.
read my own book. So yes, if you want to spend a few hours with me, let's do it. Get
Yes,
me on
and
Audible.
yes, so if anyone is one of the things that I truly believe in 100% is
Mhm.
if anyone is interested, right? And these are available on Amazon.
Oh,
Of course,
uh-huh.
she has her
Mhm.
website, but I've these have been fun. Of course, the Jen Weigel
Mhm.
show is actually on all platforms. You don't have to get it on here, but I'm Spiritual Damn It is really, really a fun book. Jen, I really think I'm not sure if I've had this one, but I think I have all your work.
Wonderful. Well,
You
thank
know,
you. It's just great to be with like-minded others, and I celebrate all that you do. And thank you for bringing me into your capsule tonight. It was really, really a pleasure.
it
And I
is.
hope, yeah.
It is very much a capsule. Very much a capsule.
Mhm.
One of the things that I like to do
Mhm.
with um, people at all of this is I usually like to have a few words and things that we can um, almost as spontaneous. I do so many meditations, but a lot of
Mhm,
spontaneous meditations, right? And
mhm,
so I know that you can,
mhm,
and so I would like for you to just take a moment, right,
mhm. Okay.
and follow that intuition. You know, just for 2 minutes, right,
Okay.
and just take the floor and just
Mm.
go with it. However you feel. I usually maybe have them breathe a little bit, but
Yeah.
whatever words that come to you.
Well, I invite everyone to just take that deep breath into your heart space and really feel the breath going into your heart. I love picturing a color. And for me lately, the color of violet, beautiful violet flame coming into your heart. And as you breathe that beautiful violet color in, let it transmute any doubts that you have, any concerns, any worries. Just give it up to that beautiful, beautiful flame. And just watch it dissolve into this gorgeous light. And as you picture your light tight and bright, front, back, side to side, top to bottom, and that beautiful cord just tethering from the base of your spine all the way deep into the earth and feeling the earth's energy as that comes back up into your feet and your legs, all the way to your thighs and your base of your spine, up your spine, into your throat chakra and right around your heart, all the way up to your third eye, which is right between your eyes and above your head. And then picture that going all the way up to the sky, literally into the clouds. As the clouds open, there is this gorgeous, beaming gold light that's coming down, and you're feeling it. Just feel it on your face. Sort of like when you first wake up and you step outside and the sun hits your nose. That gorgeous feeling of the heat of that beautiful golden light hitting your face, to remember that everything is connected. And as you set the intention to go through in this heart space, knowing we are all one, you are always safe. You are loved unconditionally in every moment with the air in your lungs and the beat in your heart. And so it is. And so it is. And so it is.
So it is. So it is. You guys can, I believe it is it JennWeigel.com?
Yeah, that's it.
Post that.
JennWeigel.com. Easy peasy.
So this is Mrs. Jen's website. So
Mhm.
JennWeigel.com. And also you can just type her name in on Google and go on YouTube, and you can still find some wonderful stuff on YouTube. All right. Ms. Jen, I appreciate you. I thank you for coming in, and I look forward to actually reconnecting and doing. I really want to. We're called to work together. You know,
Mhm.
we're called to work together, so we will.
Yeah,
You
I
know,
agree.
you know.
I totally agree. And I thank you for holding space and inviting me, like I said, into this incredible platform that you provide. Your intentions, I know, are to help heal and connect. And so thank you. Thank you for reminding me we got work to do.
Yeah, and I think it's such an opportunity, and it's so fun.
Mhm.
As they were saying, you see that on the comments there,
Yeah.
and so it is.
So it is. That's right. And oh my gosh, my dog's wagging her tail like crazy. She's like, "Oh, I saw you get all excited. See, here she comes."
We got to thank you guys so much. We got some wonderful comments coming through, and so it is.
Oh, I love it. So it is, everybody. Take that one with you. We can all do that when we're brushing our teeth.
Absolutely, my dear friend John Thomas. Hey, John, letting
Love it.
every hey
Oh,
Cecile,
thank
this is so
you.
beautiful, so awesome.
What a
Miss Cat, I see you. Wonderful.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you guys for tuning in. And you know what? Of course, I'll be back next Thursday, right? 8:30. And most likely we will have Miss Jen back. Right?
I look forward to it, and then we'll get you on Jen Weigel show sooner rather than later. Okay.
That'd be fun. It'd be so fun.
Awesome.
All
Love you,
right.
Todd.
Thank you so much, you guys.
So much.
All
Take
right. Have a
care.
good one. All right.
You
Bye bye.
too.